In the dim glow of a sterile hospital room, where the beeps of machines echoed like a cruel metronome, Eleanor lay motionless on her bed, her once vibrant eyes now hollow pits of despair. At just 22, she had been the shining star of her father's world, a budding artist with dreams as vast as the city skyline her family's penthouse overlooked. But in a single, shattering instant on a rain-slicked highway, a drunk driver's recklessness had stolen her mobility, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. The world that had once bowed to her whims now seemed an insurmountable prison, her body a betrayer that confined her to endless days of staring at the ceiling, wondering if death might be kinder than this half-life. Her father, Victor Hargrove, the iron-fisted CEO of a multinational tech empire, paced the corridors outside, his tailored suits rumpled from sleepless nights, his empire crumbling under the weight of his daughter's fading spirit. He had thrown millions at specialists, experimental treatments, and therapies, but nothing could mend the broken hope in Eleanor's heart. She had lost all will to fight, whispering in the dead of night that she wished the accident had taken her fully. If this story of unbreakable bonds and unexpected kindness already tugs at your heartstrings, and if you believe in the power of second chances and the quiet miracles of human compassion, then hit that like button right now, drop a comment below sharing your own story of hope, share this video with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists, and don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Speaks for more tales that celebrate the best in us all. Victor's life had been a relentless climb to the top, building Hargrove Innovations from a garage startup into a behemoth that revolutionized AI and robotics. He was known in boardrooms as a visionary, a man who bent the future to his will, but at home, he had always been Eleanor's rock, the one who encouraged her sketches and paintings, framing her childhood doodles as if they were masterpieces. Now, as he watched her waste away, her laughter replaced by silent tears, he felt utterly powerless for the first time. The accident had happened 6 months ago, on a night when Eleanor was driving home from an art exhibition where her work had been praised by critics. The impact had severed her spinal cord irreparably, doctors said, and though Victor scoured the globe for second opinions, the verdict remained the same: she might never walk again. Eleanor's room became a shrine of wilted flowers and get-well cards, but her spirit wilted faster. She refused physical therapy, pushing away the nurses with sharp words born of frustration, and at night, Victor would hear her sobbing, begging the universe to end her suffering. He hired the best psychologists, but they all said the same: depression had taken root, and without her will to live, no treatment would succeed. Victor's marriage had long since dissolved under the strain of his ambitions, leaving him alone to bear this burden, his days blurring into conference calls interrupted by hospital visits, his nights haunted by what-ifs. Across town, in a modest apartment cluttered with toy trucks and half-finished homework, lived Marcus Reed, a single father raising his 8-year-old son, Tommy, after losing his wife to cancer 3 years prior. Marcus worked as a janitor at Hargrove Innovations headquarters, mopping floors and emptying trash bins while the executives above dreamed up the next big thing. He was a quiet man, broad-shouldered from years of manual labor, with kind eyes that hid the scars of his own grief. Tommy was his everything, a bright, curious boy who loved building robots from scrap parts Marcus scavenged from work. But life wasn't easy, bills piled up, and Marcus often skipped meals to ensure Tommy had enough. Yet, he never complained, finding solace in small joys like reading bedtime stories or tinkering in their tiny workshop. Marcus had heard whispers about the CEO's daughter through the office grapevine, the tragic accident, the family's anguish, but it was distant news until one fateful evening when he stayed late to clean Victor's office. There, on the desk, lay a crumpled photo of Eleanor, her smile radiant before the crash, and Marcus felt an inexplicable pull, a reminder of his own loss and the hope he'd clung to for Tommy's sake. As weeks turned into months, Eleanor's condition deteriorated not just physically but emotionally, her world shrinking to the 4 walls of her hospital room. She stopped eating properly, her cheeks hollowing out, and the doctors warned Victor that she was slipping into a dangerous apathy. He tried everything, bringing in her favorite artists for private visits, playing recordings of ocean waves she once loved painting, even promising a custom-built studio in their home if she would just try therapy. But Eleanor turned away, her voice a faint echo as she murmured that nothing mattered anymore, that her dreams were as paralyzed as her legs. Victor's empire suffered too. Board members murmured about his distraction, stock prices dipped, and rivals circled like vultures. In his desperation, he began wandering the hospital grounds at night, seeking solace in the quiet gardens where patients sometimes found peace. It was there, under a canopy of stars obscured by city lights, that he first crossed paths with Marcus. The janitor was on a rare break, having volunteered to help with maintenance at the hospital through a company outreach program, fixing a flickering light in the garden pavilion. Victor, mistaking him for a groundskeeper, struck up a conversation about the relentless rain that mirrored his mood, and Marcus listened with a patience born of his own hardships, sharing a simple story about how he and Tommy built a rain catcher from old parts to teach his son about perseverance. The encounter lingered in Victor's mind, a brief respite from his isolation, and when he learned Marcus worked for his company, he felt a spark of curiosity. Perhaps it was fate, or maybe just coincidence, but Victor began seeking out the janitor during his late-night shifts, confiding in fragments about Eleanor's struggle. Marcus, with his unassuming wisdom, didn't offer platitudes. Instead, he spoke of his wife's battle, how she'd whispered encouragements to Tommy even in her final days, instilling in the boy a belief that hope could be rebuilt like a broken toy. Victor was drawn to this grounded perspective, so different from the polished advice of his therapists. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, Victor broke down, admitting that Eleanor had lost all hope, that she spoke of ending it all. Marcus paused his mopping, his face etched with empathy, and suggested something radical. Perhaps Eleanor needed to see that life could still hold meaning, even in imperfection. He shared how Tommy, despite losing his mother, found joy in small inventions, and maybe, just maybe, connecting with someone outside her bubble could reignite her spark. Victor dismissed it at first, but the idea took root, gnawing at him until he invited Marcus to visit the hospital, not as an employee, but as a potential bridge to his daughter's shattered world. Marcus hesitated. Who was he, a lowly janitor, to intrude on such personal pain? But Tommy's innocent enthusiasm sealed it. The boy had overheard and begged his dad to help the sad lady, like how they helped each other. So, one crisp autumn afternoon, Marcus entered Eleanor's room, Tommy in tow with a handmade card clutched in his small hands. Eleanor barely glanced up from her bed, her eyes glazed with indifference, but Tommy's wide-eyed wonder cut through the gloom. He chatted about his robots, placing the card, a drawing of a girl with mechanical legs flying through the sky, on her lap. Eleanor's fingers trembled as she touched it, a flicker of something stirring in her chest, but she pushed it away, muttering that dreams like that were for children who could still run. Marcus didn't push. He simply sat by her side, sharing stories of his wife's art therapy during chemo, how creating even in pain had given her purpose. Over the following visits, a tentative routine formed, Marcus bringing Tommy after school, the boy building simple gadgets at her bedside while Marcus fixed minor things in the room, all the while weaving tales of resilience. Eleanor resisted at first, her walls high, but cracks appeared as Tommy's laughter filled the silence, reminding her of her own lost innocence. The challenges mounted, testing everyone's resolve. Eleanor's physical therapy sessions were grueling when she finally agreed to try. Her muscles atrophied and unresponsive, each failed attempt to move her legs sending waves of frustration crashing over her. She lashed out one day, accusing Marcus of false hope, her voice breaking as she confessed the depth of her despair, the nights she prayed for oblivion, the guilt of burdening her father. Victor watched from afar, his heart aching, but Marcus remained steadfast, drawing from his own well of grief. He told her about the day his wife passed, how he'd wanted to give up, but Tommy's tiny hand in his had pulled him back. Suspense built as Eleanor's mood swung wildly. One week she'd engage, sketching faint lines inspired by Tommy's inventions. The next she'd retreat into silence, the hospital's sterile air thick with unspoken fears. Victor faced his own trials, a corporate takeover threat forcing him to divide his time, guilt gnawing at him for not being there enough. Marcus juggled work and visits, exhaustion etching lines on his face, yet he persisted, believing in the quiet power of connection. Change came gradually, like dawn creeping over a stormy horizon. Eleanor began to look forward to Tommy's visits, her sketches evolving from dark abstracts to whimsical robots with human hearts. Marcus noticed her subtle shifts, the way her eyes lit up when Tommy explained a circuit, the tentative questions she asked about his life. But the true turning point arrived on a stormy evening, the power flickering as thunder rattled the windows. Eleanor had hit a low, a therapy session ending in tears after another failure, her hope fracturing anew. Victor was away on a critical business trip, leaving Marcus alone with her as Tommy slept in the corner chair. In the dim emergency lights, Eleanor poured out her soul, admitting she felt like a ghost haunting her own life. Marcus leaned in close, his voice a soft whisper against the storm's roar, assuring her that he would help her, not just with words, but by showing her that broken pieces could rebuild something stronger. He shared his deepest secret, how he'd invented a simple exoskeleton prototype in his workshop, inspired by Hargrove's tech but built from scraps, designed to aid mobility for those like his wife who dreamed of one last dance. From that whisper, a pact was born. Marcus brought his prototype the next day, a clunky but ingenious frame of wires and motors, pieced together in stolen hours. Eleanor stared at it, fear and excitement warring in her eyes, but with Tommy's encouragement, she allowed them to strap it on. The first steps were faltering, the device whirring like a hesitant heartbeat, but as her legs moved under mechanical guidance, tears streamed down her face, not of despair, but of fragile hope. Victor returned to find his daughter standing, albeit supported, her smile tentative but real. The CEO's gratitude knew no bounds. He poured resources into refining Marcus's invention, turning it into a cutting-edge mobility aid that not only helped Eleanor but promised to change lives worldwide. As months passed, Eleanor's therapy intensified, her body strengthening alongside her spirit. She painted again, her canvases bursting with color, depicting stories of rebirth. Marcus and Tommy became family, dinners at the Hargrove penthouse blending laughter with innovation talks, Victor mentoring Marcus's budding inventor dreams. The bond deepened, weaving their lives into a tapestry of mutual healing. Eleanor faced setbacks, her infection delaying progress, doubts creeping in during lonely nights, but each time, Marcus's steady presence and Tommy's unyielding optimism pulled her through. Victor learned humility, stepping back from his empire to prioritize what mattered, even promoting Marcus to lead a new accessibility tech division. Suspense lingered in the air during Eleanor's first public appearance, a charity gala where she walked the stage with her enhanced exoskeleton, sharing her story to a hushed crowd. The applause was thunderous, but it was the quiet moments that touched deepest. Eleanor teaching Tommy to paint, Marcus and Victor sharing a beer on the balcony, reflecting on how one whisper had ignited a chain of miracles. As Eleanor stood tall once more, not just physically but in spirit, she realized hope wasn't about erasing scars but embracing them. Her art flourished, exhibitions drawing crowds inspired by her resilience, and through it all, the single dad's whisper echoed as a beacon. Life moved forward, richer for the trials, proving that in the darkest depths, a stranger's kindness could light the way home. If this tale of redemption, unbreakable family ties, and the transformative power of compassion has stirred something deep within you, perhaps a tear, a memory, or a renewed faith in humanity, then please, from the bottom of my heart, like this video, share it with a friend who might need this reminder today, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks so we can keep spreading these stories that heal and inspire. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below with the line that moved you most in this story, or share how kindness has changed your own life. Your words could spark hope for someone else reading them.